Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I am your host, Jessica Auer. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about one of the most common behaviors from women I know in Australia, but probably all over the world, and that is people pleasing. So many women struggle with what we call people pleasing. But what people pleasing actually is, we beat ourselves up for the behavior of people pleasing, and we think, oh, why do I constantly have to please other people? When in actual fact, the act of people pleasing, if someone is a chronic people pleaser, it tells me that they are very afraid of being alone and of losing the people that they love in their life. And when it comes from trauma, there's also this conditioning that's happened in childhood where they have learnt that love is conditional. They've learnt that in order to be loved, you have to do X, Y, and Z for the people who love you. So they've learned that this love is conditional, and they grow up with this habit of people pleasing because there's this fear of, if I don't do what everybody else wants me to do, then they're not going to have me in their life. They're not going to have me in their life. I'm not going to serve any purpose to them, and I'm going to end up alone. People pleasing to me actually comes down to this subconscious belief, or it's the driver is this subconscious belief of, I will end up alone. So some people will say, how can I tell the difference between genuine kindness and caring and wanting to do things for people and a trauma response type people pleasing? And the way that you can tell is basically how it feels. If it feels good, then it's good. If it feels bad and heavy, then it's coming from a trauma response. If you feel like you want to say no, but you physically can't, that's a trauma response. If you feel like there is something that somebody wants you to do and they want your help, and you actually feel like you've got the capacity, and you actually think, you know what, I'd really love to help that person, and I'd really love to be able to support them in this way, and you feel like you've got the capacity to do that, then that's kindness, that's giving, that's connection, that's absolutely fine. But if you are run down and burnt out and people are asking for your help, your advice, your time, left, right, and center, and you feel like you've got nothing left to give, and yet you find yourself saying the words yes and continuing to do it and getting more and more burnt out, then that is a conditioned response. And women who people please, it kind of goes hand in hand with self-sacrificing. So again, you can tell whether it's just kindness and care and compassion, because you'll have this genetic makeup of kindness, care, and compassion towards yourself first. If you have kindness and compassion towards yourself, you'll know where your limits are. You'll know when you can say, I would love to help you with that, but unfortunately, I just am so slammed at the moment. I'm busy, I'm tired, I just need to have some self-care, whatever it is. You won't have an issue saying that because you have kindness and compassion for yourself first. If you have these feelings of, I don't deserve that, and I don't deserve their love, and I don't deserve their time, and I don't deserve to be looked after and cared for, you're coming at it from a place of wounding, not a place of higher self and, higher self-worth. You're coming at it from a place of wounding of, I don't have that, and I wouldn't want them to feel like that, so I'm going to give that to them. And we get lower and lower and lower, and what we do is we self-sacrifice. And self-sacrifice is basically sacrificing your needs for other people. And it can sound like the best thing to do. It can sound like the higher thing to do. It can sound like, the most enlightened thing to do. The best thing to do is to put other people first and to care for other people. But how are you going to continue to care for other people if you're a shell of yourself, if you have no energy left for yourself, if that's going to lead to resentment. It's going to lead to you being like, well, I do all of this for you. What do you do for me? Because it's not coming from a place of overflow. And so if you're pleasing people and you're doing things for people from a place of overflow, from like, you know what, I feel good, I've got time to give, I'll do that for you, I want to help you. And I know this personally because I was like a chronic people pleaser. I was raised by a father who, and sometimes my mum, to be honest, who, you had to please in order to be loved. And my father more so, it was like sacrifice all your own needs, all your own desires, who you are, everything in order to please him. And so grew up a chronic people pleaser and had this complete inability to say no. And it rippled into my work with clients. I would have clients messaging me all hours of the day and night and asking, I need to see you immediately. I'm not in a good way. Can you see me tomorrow? Can you see me on the weekend? And I just couldn't say, no, I don't work weekends. No, I don't work nights. I couldn't say it because if someone was struggling, their struggle and suffering was greater. The need to fix it was greater than my own. And it didn't matter what I was going through. I would push everything down in order to help that person. Why did I do that? Because I had low self-worth. And again, people pleasing and low self-worth come hand in hand. As soon as I started to increase my self-worth, it was like, I absolutely can help you, but this is my working hours. And now it's like, I actually can't help you, but here's some people that I've trained to be able to help you. But there's these different boundaries that you put in place to protect and preserve your own energy because you believe that you're worth it, because you believe that you deserve to protect your energy. Until you believe that you deserve it, you're not going to put those boundaries in place. You're not going to be able to say no. So it comes from trauma in that, where did you learn that you weren't worth it? Where did you learn that you couldn't say no? Where did you learn that other people's needs are more important than your own? Where did you learn that you're not as worthy of your own time and attention and resources as other people are? So you start to notice that if you're probably starting to notice, like, are you giving from overflow? Or ask yourself, are you giving from overflow and from kindness and from like, I have so much love in my heart and time, I'm going to pour that into somebody else? Or is it coming from nothing and no one and I'm worthless and, they're more important than me? That's your number one kind of indication that you're people pleasing and that you're stuck in this self-sacrificing. Their needs are more important than my own. And any mums that are listening will resonate with this deeply because it's one of the first things that happens in those first, early years of motherhood is it's like, well, this thing relies on me, this child, this baby relies on me for survival. So all of my needs have to be pushed down and I just have to do everything for that baby because it's my responsibility to look after that baby. Well, yes, this is true, but how are you going to raise that baby with a good regulated nervous system? Because babies are tuned to our nervous system. And so if we're stressed, they actually physiologically feel and pick up that stress, and then they end up kids with anxiety. How are you going to give them a strong nervous system and a really good sense of self and make them feel confident and happy and proud of themselves if you don't feel that yourself? How are you going to model that to them if you're not experiencing that yourself? Children see and feel and pick up on what we're doing more than what we say to them. So if we're saying to them, everything's all good, but we're feeling stressed and in chaos and we're rushing around and we're doing everything for everybody else, they're going to notice that and they're going to pick up those same habits and behaviors. So we actually owe it to ourselves as women, as partners, as wives, as examples to our children, to the children in our lives that, and teachers as well are such good examples of this in schools. Like, we owe it to them to model that behavior, not just talk about it, but model it. So we set those boundaries. We put those boundaries in place. We say, I would, when I do this with my kids, I would love to play that game with you right now, but I actually have to do like cook dinner, or I actually have to do this thing. But even when it comes to self-care, so sometimes I will say to my boys, I spend a lot of time investing into them, whether it's like their hobbies, doing activities with them. But sometimes I'll just say to them, Mum is feeling like I haven't really had any mummy minutes, I call them, and I haven't really had any time to like put back into myself. So I'm just going to go and do a meditation. I'm just going to go for a walk. And when I come back, then we're going to do that thing that you love, because you're so important to me, but I'm important too. that is, so many women would feel selfish doing that. What you're teaching them is, one, that you're a fucking human, not just their servant. But two, that's what it looks like to prioritize yourself. If you never do that, they don't have the framework for that. They're not going to know how to do that when they're older. And when someone asks them for something, they're just going to hop to it and not go, you know what, actually, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I actually can't do that. They're not going to even know how to say that because they haven't seen you do it. So I want you to flip your mentality and be like, once I start looking after myself, I give permission to other people to do the same as well. Once I start to look after myself and I say no to that friend that's always asking for a favor, and I say like, actually, I can't at this time, you're giving them permission to then do the same thing. We're giving permission to everybody. And I actually have a friend like this who she's so the opposite of a people pleaser. And when I first became friends with her, it was quite jarring. Like, I would be at her house and would have been there for a couple of hours. The kids are playing and she just would look at me and go, I just love you so much, but I really want you to go home now. I'm really tired. I want you to go home now. And she had just zero people pleasing tendencies. And she would just say, like, I'm tired, need a bit of a rest. I'm sick of playing now. I'm sick of hanging out. Can you go home? And at the start, I was quite jarred by that because I would never say that to anybody. If someone was at my house and I was getting tired and I wanted them to leave, they could spend another 10 hours there and I wasn't going to say shit. I wasn't going to say anything because I wouldn't want to say anything that might upset them because I wanted to please them and let them do what they wanted to do. Her doing that gave me permission to step into this version of myself that could do the same thing. Because it was like, well, she does that. I can do that. Why can't I do that? I still love her and I still want to spend time with her. I can do that too. And so now it gave me this permission to be more honest and to say what I'm actually thinking and feeling, and say, even in relationships, like, I do want to go and see your friends today, but I also just really want to stay in bed and read a book. So you go and do that and I'm just going to do what I want to do today. Like, I have needs and I'm a human and you have needs and you're a human, and getting to that point. I mean, it's really hard because there's going to be people who don't like that, and there's going to be people who can't do that themselves, and they're going to make a big fuss, and that's probably the main reason that we continue the cycle, to be honest. So this reason, like this fear of losing the people around us, as well as society as a whole, I think we are very rewarded when it comes to people pleasing, but we call it something different. So we call it being selfless. We call it being kind. We call it being, humanitarian. We call it whatever we want to call it. But women are absolutely rewarded for self-sacrificing. And you see it all the time. You see these women that are like running themselves into the ground, and people are like, oh, you're so good. You do so much good for so many people, and you're amazing and you're wonderful. And we do get rewarded and we get praise. And I almost think that's designed intentionally, because for as long as women continue to please, there are going to be certain people that get away with the behaviors. And so I think that it's coming back to this kind of, what we're actually afraid of is losing people. And the reality is you potentially will lose people, but the only people that you're going to lose are the people who are benefiting from you having no boundaries. The only people that you're going to lose are the people who like the version of you that gives them everything that they want when they want it. And that's just the most blunt, obvious truth, is that we attract people at whatever level we're at. And so if we are, if we are a people pleaser, and I often speak about this with my ex-husband, like, the version of me that he loved was quiet and selfless and very self-sacrificing and didn't have any boundaries and had extremely low self-worth. The woman that I became was someone that he didn't even recognize, someone that he wouldn't have chosen, that wasn't who he chose. And so there was eventually this moment where we were two different people than who we started out as, and we had to part ways. And for people, that's really scary. I have a lot of women that come to me and say, I want to do this work, but I'm so scared of changing. I'm so scared of changing because I don't want to lose the people that I love. And I get it. I actually do get it. And there was so many sessions where I knew that there was something coming up that was going to have a really big effect. But I do have to say that out the other side, the people that you attract and that you magnetize into your life and those new kind of relationships is so much more freeing. Like, I have all my friendships now, I can message them and say, I cannot be bothered. I know we organized to go to lunch, but I cannot be bothered hanging out today. And they're like, no worries, I love you. Like, there is zero people pleasing involved because I've attracted and created friendships. And some of my friendships weren't like that and they did evolve. So friendships can evolve with open conversations, relationships can evolve, but it comes back to that fear of losing people. But at the end of the day, I always say to my clients, would you rather lose that relationship or lose yourself? Because every time you people please and every time you don't say what it is that you want and you sacrifice your needs and you push them down and you don't stand up for what you want or you please somebody else above yourself, but it does, like, this little part of you dies and you push down those needs and those wants, and it further brings down your self-worth, and it just makes you feel at this lower vibrational frequency, and it just, you start to lose yourself. And this is where women come to me and say, like, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I want anymore, because they've pushed it so far down to please other people. And you get one life, one chance, however many years you get. And I don't think that there would be anybody that gets to the end of that and says, I wish I had have done more for myself, or I wish I had have done what I really wanted to do. And I think that you can still be kind and caring and giving, but there's got to be a period where it's about you, especially if you've had a lot of trauma and there's never been a period where it was about you. If it's always been about other people, you've actually got to lean into selfish. You've actually got to be like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to be selfish for a little while so that I can build up my self-worth and my importance. And then I'm going to be overflowing and I'm going to have so much to give back. Like, I actually ironically give so much more now in my relationships than I used to, because I have so much more capacity, so much more love, so much more freedom. I have so much more to give than when I was actually people pleasing, which is crazy when you think about it, because you think that you're giving so much, but you're giving from such an empty place. So I now have more time. I buy more thoughtful gifts. I actually think about who I can help and what's the most impactful way that I can help people, because I've got the time and the capacity and the space to do that. In the past, I was just drowning in what I thought I should do. There actually is a reality out the other side where you can help even more people in a much more meaningful way after you give back to yourself first. People pleasers often look put together and capable and even like powerful and in control. I know that on the outside, when I was running my business, I looked like I was smashing it. I was like, people used to say to me, you are Wonder Woman. How do you raise two small kids and run a business helping so many people with their trauma every day? And you're doing all of these things. Like, how do you do it? And there was so much praise for it. There was so much praise, which actually further fueled, like as we were speaking about before, it further fueled this cycle of people pleasing, because it was so much praise for, you're amazing. Like, look at how much you do, and look at how much you do for other people, and you're so kind and you're so selfless and you're so giving. And it just kept going. And on the outside, it looked like I had it all, and it looked like I was really successful, and I was really able to give back and look after myself and do all the things, but I wasn't looking after myself. And I can guarantee that those people that look like they've got it all going on the outside and they're helping everybody, they on the inside are struggling. They on the inside wish that they could just slip away to a nice retreat somewhere and just have someone wait on them, or just have, this time to just put back into themselves. It's a really strong exterior that you put up when you've had a lot of trauma, and when you think that you have to be that person in order to be loved, when you think that no one's going to care about you or love you or want you if you're not doing things for other people. And so they look like they are okay, but they're not okay on the inside. And so they need some help. So I think it's a common response as well to look like you're doing okay when you're actually struggling, because you don't know how to ask for help. And this is the back end side of people pleasing. you people please other people, but these women always also don't know how to ask for help. So they're helping other people who know how to ask for help over and over and over, but they don't know how to ask for help. They don't know how to say, actually, I'm struggling. Actually, I need the day off. Actually, no, I can't do that for you. Or actually, could you come and help me move my house or whatever? They never ask for help because they've been so programmed to put other people's needs above their own that they don't even know what their needs are, but they have this uncomfortableness around receiving support and around just actually asking for it. So they have to have this perception that they're okay and they've got it all together, because they're too afraid to be vulnerable, because not being able to ask for help is coming from a place of not being able to be vulnerable. And most of the time that's because they're afraid that if they ask for help, someone's going to say no and they're going to be let down, and they just can't stand that feeling of being let down. And so it's just like this, the telltale sign that you're a people pleaser, overachiever / can't ask for help is when you say to yourself, I'll just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. I'm not going to ask them for help. I'll just do it myself. And there's some pretty funny reels and things that I've been sent on social media with like women carrying like an entire couch on their back with like a trauma response. I'll just do it myself, like doing these incredible things that you shouldn't be doing on your own, but because you just don't want to ask for help. So I would be looking at, if this is where you're at, if this is you, I would be looking at why. Why can't you ask for help? What is the worst thing that could happen if you ask for help? And if it is that they'll say no and you'll feel let down, where does that wound come from? Who let you down? And when did they let you down? And what did it feel like? And process that memory and shift those beliefs and et cetera, et cetera. So looking at where it comes from, looking at the source. And it is often that way that we start to get resentful for people pleasing and resentful for how much we do for everybody else. My advice to that person is, if you're at that resentful point, every time someone asks you to do something, ask someone to do something for you. And just get so comfortable with asking for help and with asking other people for support. So people pleasing is essentially always about this trauma response. It's always about making sure that other people are happy. Again, it could be so that you're safe. Sometimes we've grown up in homes where if parents aren't happy, things aren't okay. If dad isn't happy, we're walking on eggshells, or if mum isn't happy, we're walking on eggshells. And so we need to please them, make sure that they're happy so that we feel safe. So that's another sort of avenue that you can look at going down and look at healing. But essentially, I think that there is a big difference here between people pleasing and giving. And I think you can give when you've got something to give, when you've got overflow. But when you are people pleasing, you're pleasing somebody else. And we should never be focusing on pleasing somebody, but on supporting them, loving them, connecting with them, giving to them. And so I would be looking at, again, like, how much do you actually want to give? And where does it come from? Because if you are using the word should, then you need to be stopping whatever it is that you're doing. If you're like, I want to go to my kids' school and do reading every week, or I want to give to this certain charity, or I want to give to this person, that is a very different place than I should do this. I should go there. I should help with that. I should give more back. I should. If the word should is coming into your mind, I would challenge you to write a should list. What are all the things that you should do? And what are all of the things that you want to do? And the things on your should list are going to give you a really clear indication of where you're people pleasing and who you're people pleasing and why you're people pleasing. And the things that you want to do, that you're drawn towards, the people that you want to help, and the places where you want to give are the things that you're being drawn to. And those are the things that you should put into once you've got that time and energy and space. So trauma shapes people, their nervous system, their automatic responses, their triggers. This is all coming into play when it comes to people pleasing. And what happens is sometimes women don't even realize that they're saying yes until after they've said yes, because it is their automatic response. Hey, can you do this for me? Yep, that's fine. Yes, of course. Yes, yes, yes. And then afterwards, they're like, I really don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do whatever it is. And what's happening here is that that automatic response has been programmed from trauma, from childhood, in moments where they were taught to abandon their own needs, where they were taught to push their own needs down. So whether that be big things like in my situation, sexual trauma, or smaller things as in, you know, they have a need or a want when they're a little girl to go somewhere or to do something, and the parents are like, no, you're not having that, we're not doing that, and they're shutting them down and pushing their needs down. That's automatically programming them to believe unconsciously that their needs don't matter. And so this belief of like, my needs don't matter, needs to be subconsciously removed. It needs to be worked out. Where did that come from? Where did you learn that your needs don't matter? And processing that memory and shifting those subconscious beliefs. But it's taught in some people in big moments and some people in lots of little moments. But I think that unless you're raised by healthy parents who prioritize themselves, have healthy boundaries, have their own needs and desires, and they follow those needs and desires, and they're also able to meet yours as well, because we go to the other end where we've got like parents that are narcissistic, that are constantly meeting their own desires and doing nothing for anybody else, and they're parents who are completely self-involved, and they're selfish and they're completely ignoring their children. We've got those sorts of parents too. So it's finding that balance. But those sorts of parents as well can train you to believe that you're not important and that they're the most important person in the world. And so you then treat everybody else as if they're your parent and that they're more important than you, because you have this inferiority feeling. And so we do have to find that balance between giving and loving, and between also giving and loving to ourselves. People pleasing stops women from stepping into their power, because how are you ever going to get what you want, to go after your desires and your wants and your dreams and step into this most powerful version of yourself, if all the time you're helping other people, you're worrying about what they think and what they feel? I think one of the most freeing things that I've ever done was removing the belief that everybody else is my responsibility. And that wasn't just my family, that rippled to everybody, every client that I had, removing this belief of like, everyone else is my responsibility, and replacing it with this belief of like, I am only responsible for me. And feeling that weight shift, we can actually start to bring back some of our own power. But we also get to give other people back their power too, because what happens is, if you're always responsible for other people and you're always pleasing them, you're actually not serving them, because you're not allowing them to grow as a person. You're not allowing them to do things for themselves. Sometimes you're saving them. And when you're constantly saving people and doing everything for them, there is an unconscious part of you there that doesn't believe that they're capable. And so I had to do this again with clients, where it was like, well, I'm like bending over backwards around people because I'm assuming that they're not capable of managing their own calendar, or they're not capable of moving some appointments around. But actually, they're very capable of that. And so we have to assume that we're doing everybody a favor by allowing them to deal with their own shit, and by allowing them to deal with their own life, essentially, because we aren't responsible for saving and fixing everybody. We're just not. That's their responsibility. And actually, it feels so much more powerful for people when they do save themselves, and when they do heal themselves, and they fix themselves, and they build themselves back up. And some people will never get to that if we're constantly doing everything for them and fixing them and saving them. So sometimes actually the biggest like gift of giving that you can give is actually saying no to somebody and allowing them to do some things on their own. So if you want to, you can't be, and I often say this, you can't be the version of you that you had to become in order to survive your childhood. You can't be that version of you and thrive. The version of you that sets boundaries, that says no, that doesn't people please, that doesn't self-sacrifice, the version of you that stands up, she speaks up for herself, she's confident, she's clear, she's direct, she's free, she's excited for life. That version of you doesn't people please. They're two different people. They're two different versions of you. And so you actually do need to step into this new version of yourself. And this is what's so scary, is that we try and step into that version of ourselves by quitting these habits, and all of a sudden we start saying no to things, and it feels so uncomfortable when we say no that we feel this surge of panic, and it goes against all of our conditioning, that we just end up going, actually, you know what, I can do that. That's fine. Yep, I'll do it. It's all good. And we retract. And when we're retracting, it's because we're feeling uncomfortable, because it's something new. And I would just urge you, when that uncomfortableness comes up, when you go to set a boundary or say no or whatever it is, when you go to stop that people-pleasing habit and that uncomfortable feeling comes up, use it as information and go, oh, okay, this is making me feel really uncomfortable. I wonder why. I wonder what I'm afraid of. I wonder where that's coming from. Don't backpedal and call the person back and say, actually, I can do that and it's fine and we can come and all the things. Don't backpedal. Don't go back on what you wanted. Don't go back on what you need and what your desires are. Hold strong and figure out what it is that's coming up that's making you want to backpedal. Use it as information so that you can heal it, hold your ground, and take another step forward. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing this same circle, this same dance of, I have a desire, oh, you're not going to meet it, I'll step back. Or I'm going to say no, I feel uncomfortable, then I'm going to turn around and say yes. You'll just keep doing the same thing for the rest of your life until you make that decision to do something different and then sit in the discomfort and journal and write down, why does this feel uncomfortable? What am I afraid of happening if I stayed here? What am I afraid of happening? Who am I afraid of becoming? And starting to use that as information to get to that next version of yourself that we all want. Every woman that I speak to, every woman that I know, she wants to feel more confident, more free, more powerful. She wants to feel more at ease. She wants to feel looked after, taken care of. She wants to feel all of these things. We all have this in common. The difference between the women who stay in the same cycle and the women who actually change are the ones that can sit in the discomfort and start to see everything as information, not as evidence of, oh, I feel really uncomfortable. I should just go and say, I should retract. Oh, this is information that something in the past is triggering this. I'm going to heal and move out the other side. I constantly see women who appear on the outside to other people as nice and as kind and as these people who are just so chill and easygoing, or that they just seem like they're just cool with anything. And what I see, everyone else sees that, and what I see every time is a woman who can't say no, and is a woman who looks tired, and is a woman who is just so afraid of saying no, who is just so afraid of being perceived a certain way. We don't want to be perceived as difficult. We don't want to be perceived as a burden. We don't want to be perceived as a problem. We don't want to be hard work. We just want to be chill and easy and, just like wallpaper. We just want to be this beautiful wallpaper. We just want to be this woman who is easy to be around, easy to love. Nobody feels comfortable stepping into their power, because powerful women, again, over the years have been torn down. Can you think of examples of powerful women that stood up for women's rights, or that were brave, that told their story? I'm the example of this too. Some people say, yes, I want to be like her. I want to claim my power. And other people say, she's too much. She's crazy. She's loud. She's too much. She's outspoken. She needs to calm down. She's too passionate. There's so much negativity when it comes to stepping into that power. And when it comes to stopping people pleasing and starting to speak up and starting to say what you think and what you feel and what you want, there is this fear of, it's too much. I'm asking for too much. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a problem to people. I just want to be easy. And again, you can't be powerful and magnetizing and take up space and be this biggest version of yourself and not ask for anything and say yes to everything. Like those two things don't exist. And so this is where most women get stuck. And this again is why I've created Triggered to Thriving, because I noticed that a lot of women would do the trauma healing work and they would work through and process their traumas and they'd work on some beliefs and they'd be like, I'm feeling pretty good, but they'd still have this itch, or they'd still have this just like, surely there's got to be more. I just don't feel fully powerful, or I want to be free, or I want to travel, or I want to just like have this passionate love, or I want this deeper connections, or they want more. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, but I'm not suffering anymore. I'm not struggling. I'm not having flashbacks and trauma, and I should be grateful. I should be grateful for where I'm at. And they kind of gaslight themselves into staying where they are and ignoring the calling for something bigger. And this is where, Reclaim Your Power, Rise into Flow, those last parts of the Triggered to Thriving series are like going to address every obstacle of, I know you're scared. I know you're scared to speak up. I know that society has told you that loud women are obnoxious and that women with opinions are opinionated and that men don't like that and that you'll be judged and criticized and other women will tear you down. And all of those things can be true. But what also can be true is that there's going to be women that go, oh, I want to be like that too. And you're that permission slip for that woman as well. So in the same way that you stopping people pleasing gives other people that permission, you stepping into your power and knowing how to do that is also giving other women permission to do the same. I see women every single day staying in lives that don't suit them anymore, staying in lives that they've outgrown, staying in jobs, staying in marriages, in relationships, in friendships, in so many different areas of life, staying because they're too afraid of hurting somebody else, staying because they're afraid that if they stop people pleasing and they do what they've always wanted to do, that they will hurt people or that they will lose people. And the reality is sometimes you do hurt people. Sometimes people are comfortable where they're at and they want you to stay where they're at. And that is the reality of life. But at the end of the day, I think there's a really big difference between claiming your power and stepping into who you are and what you want and what your heart is drawing you towards and intentionally hurting somebody. There is a big difference between cheating on somebody or, doing something to intentionally hurt somebody and actually unintentionally hurting somebody as the result of you doing what is right for you. And I actually remember this as well in my marriage. And I remember saying to him, well, if you really loved me, you wouldn't want me to stay here anymore because I'm so unhappy. If you actually loved me, you would see that I'm so unhappy and you would want to set me free because you would realize that you weren't making me happy. So it's not love that's keeping me here. Or it's not love that's making you want me to stay. It's the fact that you just want everything to stay the same and familiar. And it's not actually that you want the best for me. Because if I flipped it, it was like, if you weren't happy here, I would want you to leave. I wouldn't want you to stay where you were unhappy. And I say this to my partner Gav now all the time, and we have monthly check-ins where it's like, do you want to keep doing this? Are you happy here? And there's this element of like, you're a human being with your own needs and desires, and you're free to be you and I'm free to be me. And if at any point I'm not what you want anymore, or this doesn't align, or I'm not making you happy, I don't want you to stay just because you said you would. We're both free and we should be allowed to leave at any time. Obviously, I don't suggest you just up and leave. Like, you always work on the relationship and you try and grow together. But there are circumstances where people are staying and they've outgrown the relationship and they stay because they're afraid of hurting the other person, when in reality, I think you're actually, again, perception flip. You're stopping them from finding somebody that truly loves them. And so this was me again in my marriage, and my ex-husband now has a partner, and I have a fiance, and I have a fiance as well. And you actually sometimes think that you're hurting somebody, but in the long run, you're actually giving them an opportunity to find somebody who's more aligned or whatever it is. But it does just take that changing of the way that we see things. And so I see women every day living in lives that don't suit them anymore. And they think, well, I wanted this at one point, so I can't change my mind. I can't change my mind now. Oh, yes, you fucking can. Yes, you can. You can change your mind on anything every day of the week. I could wake up tomorrow and decide that I want to quit I would never, but quit my job and start an entirely new career. Or I could have an opinion on something, and then tomorrow I could wake up and say, you know what, actually, I don't believe that anymore. I believe this now, and start speaking about that. You're entitled to change your mind, change your opinion, change what you wanted. Who and what I wanted when I was 21 years old and who and what I want when I'm 35 years old is very different. But so many people just say, well, that's what I said I wanted, and now I've got it, so I've just got to sit in it. I've just got to stay here because this is what I said I wanted. But until you get it, how do you know that it's what you want? Sometimes, sometimes I order food and then I'm like, it's what I thought I wanted, and it comes out and I'm like, I actually really don't feel like that. Like, that's the same with food and with bigger life things. Sometimes you can think that you want a certain relationship and you get into that relationship or that marriage and you're like, this is shit. I actually hate this. You're allowed to change your mind. You get one life. So change your mind as often as you like. And that's the only way that you're going to keep growing, is following what your heart actually wants and not what you think you should do. Again, if your relationship or your job or one of your friendships is on your should list, I should see that friend. I should stay with him. I should stay in my job because it's the smart thing to do. If it's not a want or a desire, I want to be with them. I want to work on that. I want to go to work. I want to grow in this career. If it's not a want, but it's a should. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, this is me, first two things. One, triggered to thriving. It is literally been designed. It is my healing journey from extreme trauma through to the version of you that you meet here today. And it is every layer that I went through. It is every obstacle, every fear that I came up against. It is been 15 years in the making. And then I looked at, okay, that was my journey, but what's the journey that I took my clients on? Like, I know what you're going to need before you need it. It is all laid out there for you. If you're willing and able and wanting to break this people-pleasing, self-sacrificing patterns, it's all in there ready for you to go. Off the back of that, working one-on-one with women, with one of the women in the online trauma clinic or in the online clinic, they can help you to find the subconscious roots to this. They can help you find the beliefs that is holding it in place, the traumas that created it, and they can help you to shift all of that in 1 to 2 sessions. It is actually so much more rapid than what we think. And I have chosen them because they have all done this work. They are all putting themselves out there. They've stepped into their power. They've healed their trauma. They've gone through these same layers that I've gone through, and they are so equipped to help you with this work. So you can find them, and you can find more information about Trigger to Thriving at www.jessicaella.com.au under one-on-one work and Trigger to Thriving. Those two things combined, you will be a different version of yourself in no time, the version that you've been desiring, the version of you that you've been wanting to step into. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out. I love to hear your questions, your responses. If you haven't already, please remember to rate this podcast, like this episode, subscribe, all of the things. It helps me to continue to run this podcast. This is a free podcast. I don't monetize it and don't get any income from it, and really appreciate your support in sharing the episodes with people that you think will love them, and in just rating it so that we can keep it going. I will see you on the next episode.